All right, here we are with show number 2,
Yeah.
and this is the first one we had all three of us, which is what the
Yep.
plan was. So
Yeah.
let our new guest tell us his name and tell us a little something about himself. Go ahead.
Well, I'm more than a guest. I'm a childhood friend. I'm Walt.
Yes.
Pleasure to be with you guys. This is so cool. It's like I was telling you earlier. I have never done Zoom before, so
No.
a little bit nervous, but I'm with two long lost best friends, so it's
Oh
all
yeah,
good.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all new to the technology part of it, and
Yeah.
we'll
This
kind
is
of
my
figure it
second
out.
time. David's done it a few times before this, but that's
Yeah.
my second time doing it. So, you know.
Well, the scary thing is people are actually going to watch this.
Yeah.
So
Some people have already watched me and Dave, and they've, like some people from Garner, and they've
I
made some cool
guess if I
comments.
promise to behave, you guys going to behave too?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll
Depends on
see.
depends on how good the story we get into is.
We'll see how it goes when we cross that bridge. I reckon. I don't know.
Have
But
y'all?
I'm Jeff Ivy,
And I'm David
and
Noel.
we've all been friends for good God since the early '80s. And yeah,
Have you
and
What a
thank God.
decade.
have you guys thought about the last time the three of us were talking? We were together last time, but it has been a long time since the three of us were actually talking at the same time to each other. Uh,
It's been too long.
if I'm not,
Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
I think it was like 96 or 97, to be honest with you.
Was it
It
at
had,
one of our gigs?
it's
Didn't
probably, yeah,
you move away and you came back into town to see Jeff and I play?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I also
Yeah, he
remember
came
going
in
to
the 90s.
we went to Walter's house one time, and he had, I think, a little 4-track recorder, and he was messing around with some Eagle songs, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a long, long, long time ago.
Ooh, I bet you I absolutely butchered them too.
Oh no, man.
Nah.
No.
When I tried to
Yeah.
sing them, that's when they got butchered.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. But I mean that's one of your favorite bands, though, isn't it, Walt? The Eagles.
You know what? It's funny you asked that because when I got out of high school, I got really into them, and then they got
Yeah.
back together, and I went to like 5 or 6 shows, and they actually changed the industry in 1994. They were the first band to charge over $100 for a ticket with Ticketmaster. And that changed the industry the next year. Like Madonna did it, Michael Jackson did it, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, as you guys know, I became a stagehand later on.
Oh yeah.
Worked with a lot of bands, and I worked with the Eagles about maybe 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Raleigh, Greensboro, Charlotte, Myrtle Beach.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean, you worked with a lot of bands.
yeah, and I hate to say it, man, because artistically and performance wise and the songwriting, you got to give them an A+.
Yeah.
But the way they treat
Indeed.
their crew and their stagehands and just they're limousine liberals. They're like really snobby guys, and it was just
Yeah.
a really bad vibe, and it totally killed the fanboy thing for me, you
Yeah.
know. But
And a lot of people back then
anyway,
didn't
for every
see that
story like
side.
that, I've got like several good ones, to match up with it. So
Yeah. I remember working at the Creek one summer with you. You got me on there, man, and I seen a few good shows, man. That was a trip.
yeah,
That was a
let me go
trip.
ahead and throw it out there. I don't want to leave people hanging. But when the Eagles play, and this was like 10, 12 years ago, I haven't current tour. God only knows what's going on now. But back then, about 12 years ago, the promoter would have to get 4 brand new Porta Johns backstage that had never been used.
Yeah.
And each one had a name on it: Henley, Walsh, Schmidt, and Fry.
Yeah.
Also, in Don Henley's dressing room, this is where it gets really good. They would send out a production assistant to get a brand new toilet seat, and they would fill that toilet seat and leave the factory wrapper on it, and then you had to leave a little razor blade for Don Henley to remove the wrapper. No.
Wow. Yeah,
All
that's
right.
kind of crazy. That's kind of
Pretty crazy.
extreme.
Well,
And then when the Eagles get out of their limousine and
There's
walk to the stage, or when they leave the stage to walk to their limousines, if you're on the road crew or production, you have to turn around and face the wall because they don't want to look at you.
Yeah, that's a little too much, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, imagine your favorite band, like David. Imagine working a Kiss show and them treating you like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It like totally kills the vibe. But then, Eagles aside, there's hundreds of really cool bands out there that are all, that really know how to treat people. So, but it was just funny you brought up the Eagles, and I was like, well, damn.
We might have to have one episode where you just kind of tell us about some of the interesting stuff that happened, some of the cooler ones, some of the ones that because that's something like Jeff knows because he's been in bands. I have no musical stuff in me, but you've experienced stuff that I'm really interested in because I've never been that close to bands. But I also think what you were talking about, meeting your idols, sometimes that can be a dangerous thing because you can just totally lose it for them.
No doubt, no doubt.
Like when you were talking about.
I will say this because Jeff, we know you love Van Halen.
Oh yeah.
Years ago, Van Halen played at the PNC Arena. It was the tour with Wolfgang on bass.
Yeah.
As soon as that show was over, I think they played Jump Last or something. I could be wrong. As soon as that show was over, Wolfgang, Alex, and Eddie hauled ass, got into an SUV with tinted windows, and just flew out of there. Yeah. David Lee Roth walked down the steps, walked up to every stagehand, shook our hand, hugged us, and he was like, guys, you just don't know. We cannot do what we do without you guys. We cannot be Van Halen without you guys busting your ass, and I appreciate it. And hug me. Now tell me that ain't some cool shit.
Yeah, because you kind of think it'd be the other way
you
around.
read all the articles, and they say he's a douche and all that. He was one of the nicest guys I've ever met in the business.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you think it'd be the other way around, but that is cool.
Anybody that tells you David Lee Roth is a douchebag, maybe I caught him on the right night. But I'm telling you, the guy is cool, super cool. We would have hung out with him if he weren't in school.
Maybe it's when he's with egos that are his size. Maybe then that's when he turns it on and is like, oh well, if you think you're just going to be the star, you're in for a surprise. But maybe when he's around regular people, he's just like, well, hey, I don't have to be cool because these people, they like me, and we're just kind of cool with each other. I mean, who knows?
Looking back on it, up until that tour, he hadn't really had much of a career for like 10, 15 years. I mean, he was kind of stale. Yeah. So the fact that he got back into an arena tour that sold out, I guess he felt appreciative and wanted to share how he felt about it. Which
it
was
was a big
cool.
deal, man. It was a big deal. Yeah, man.
Yeah, some of the people you met, Walter, I'm so jealous.
I want to throw this out here. Jeff, you opened up for what I think George Lynch and Queensryche.
Yeah, I opened up for Lynch Mob. I opened up for Queensryche first at the Long Branch, and the show was great, but it was no picnic before. It was kind of hurried up.
Two bands that you absolutely loved growing up. Did you ever imagine?
No, I would have never thought. I never thought I'd be opening for Queensryche. And good God, George Lynch. I never thought I'd carry his guitar case. Never thought I'd be talking to him after the show, and telling him my favorite solo he ever did that he don't remember doing. Wow. But no, that was cool, man. That was a cool experience, and I got to thank the guys in Device for that because I wouldn't ever been able to experience that without them. But it was cool, man. It was cool. Like I said, being on stage and playing, and but it was just kind of hurried backstage. That was the unfun part about it. Just dealing with that, but being on stage was great, but
I bet it was.
Oh yeah, man, it was a trip. I would have never thought I would have ever opened up for either one of those guys, and lo and behold, that's what happens.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't find out about it till after you did the gig, and then I'm looking at my phone like, Jeff did what? Just
yeah, it blew my mind, man.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was a good little trip I took right there, man.
One of the worst.
Enjoyed it.
Sorry, one of the worst feelings in the world was during the lynch mob show. I was outside waiting to get in.
Oh yeah.
And they started the show, and everybody's like, "Man, I can't believe they're starting the show." And I was like, "Really?" Because my best friend's singing, and I can hear him, and I'm not in there. And they were like,
they were doing it like one group at a time. You know,
it was awful.
You know, it was crazy.
Yeah,
but it was.
Who was the vocalist in Lynch Mob at the time?
It was Only Logan.
Oh, that's
Only
cool.
Logan came out. He came out there, and when after the show, he had to have a wall. He had to have a wall to hold himself up. He was so smashed, smashed, man. And you know, he didn't stay out there long. George Lynch stayed out after the show the whole time. He was just social with everybody. It was really cool. It really was. I mean, he was a great guy, you know.
I thought Oni did a good job though. He knew exactly where his range was, and he stayed within it. So he sounded really, really good.
He did.
I've heard bad stuff about him before, but like I said, he knew where his range was, and that's exactly where he stayed.
He did great. He did great that night, man. He really did.
That's also the best guitar player I've ever seen live was George Lynch.
Oh yeah,
George Lynch. I haven't seen nearly as many as you guys, but he just, I mean, he was so on. It was ridiculous.
It was very good, man. So I don't know. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. that kind of experience, anyway. You know, so but
that's awesome. You got to do it.
Oh yeah, man. But like, I'm in the Dio tribute band now, the Voodoo band. So that's going along pretty well. So, and hopefully next year we'll be busier than we were this year. We weren't really busy, but you know, it's fun staying with it, man. Just sticking to it, because I'm gonna do it to the grave. You know.
Yeah. Please tell me you do The Devil Cried.
We don't do that one. We do Bible Black.
Favorite.
That's a good song.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I don't know if you remember, you know, Keith Fairweather, his brother Chris. His brother Chris pulled me to the side last time we played and said, "Man, there's one song you didn't do, and Falling Off the Edge of the World, man. You need to do that one." I said, "Well, we might end up doing that one, you know."
Yeah.
Because that was kind of, I wasn't expecting that. So, but Devil Cry's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
It's a damn good one, man. I mean, he's got so many. It's, you know, there's so many. I want to do it as long as it's not about love. I want to do that one, which is great. It's off of Magica.
You do any Rainbow, or is it just Sabbath?
Yeah, we do Lady of the Lake. Lady of the Lake. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The song I wish Jeff could do, is nearly impossible because they don't have a keyboard player, is The Gates of Babylon.
Oh yeah.
Because I think Jeff would destroy that song. I think his voice would fit perfect.
I'm telling you, ever since we tuned down half a step, man, it's nonstop. My vocals have been pretty damn good. But that standard tuning, man, it shit kills me.
I bet.
You know.
I was watching the video you guys did last week, and you told the story about when we were on South Saunders Street at that intersection. We saw a person. We saw a real person that looked just like Dio.
Oh, that was pretty scary, man.
I remember it plain as day, and I ain't never seen anybody look more like Dio than that person. That was crazy.
It might have been Rhea Perlman. Y'all just don't know.
Oh yeah, there you go. Pretty close, man. But yeah, that was pretty trippy, man. We've seen some crazy stuff, and we've done.
Who were you driving?
I probably was. We're probably driving the green machine.
Yeah, I think I was actually drinking beer, and I remember one of us noticed, and then everybody was just like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, that's Dio, man.
But see, that's something I hadn't thought about in like 40 years, and then I saw it the other night, and I'm like, "How the hell did he remember that shit?" You know?
Oh yeah. David will bring up things that I have no clue what I did. But I bring up things but he usually remembers what I bring up.
Right.
You know, he'll bring up things. I'm like, man, I don't know how the hell you did that.
Some of the stuff I bring up, he wishes I wouldn't.
Oh,
but yeah. I will try my damnedest not to do that on here.
Oh, yeah. It's all good, man. That's all crazy shit. Water under the bridge or whatever.
Well, Walt, we kind of wanted to catch you up from where we were last week, so we were going to try to get you to talk about some of the stuff that
Yeah.
we talked about, what was some of the early music that got you into music as heavy
Yeah.
as you are now?
Believe it or not, I had a grandma that had a record player,
Yep.
but she only had like John Denver and Charlie Rich. So
Oh
when I
yeah.
was like 3 or 4 years old, I knew every song, behind closed doors, country roads.
Oh man.
And then what year did Kiss Alive 2 come out? Was it 77?
Let me see. Yeah, 77.
Okay, so I was 7 years old. I got the car drug in Garner. It was like in that little glass case. They would have to go get the key and all that. I think it was like $6. My parents got that for me. So
Wow.
I wore that out. And what's crazy, my parents was looking for a big house, and we went to Siler City, and there was this house on the river with busted out windows. Somebody had
Ah.
lived and moved out, but the realtor was showing it to us as is. And there was a box of 45s in there, and the realtor was like, take them, it's just trash. And it was all like Motown. It was like Commodores, Kool and the Gang, Rufus and Shaka Khan.
Now to me that was treasure instead of trash.
Long before Dave Chappelle did Rick James skits, I was singing his songs, and I couldn't be more than like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
And, didn't really have an FM radio till probably 81 maybe, and 82. And I started hearing stuff like Men at Work and Hall and Oates, and really got into that.
Yeah.
And then I had a neighbor across the street that had Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance, and Ozzy Osbourne, Speak of the Devil. And after that, it was just like game changer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely.
That's when I started buying all the magazines and putting the posters up and wearing eyeliner and buying spike at the flea market.
Hey, Walt.
Yeah.
When did you get your little tattoo on your knee?
I think it was around 84.
Okay. That was your first tattoo, right?
There was a resident in Garner that went to prison for something really bad. He lived up the street from me, and they let him home one Christmas. And he had these tattoos, and I'm like, dude, how did you do that? And he was like, well, you use India ink. You can buy it at Crabtree. And I think you probably drove me to Crabtree, and I bought it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was like calligraphy ink.
Yeah.
And that's when I did it. Yeah, I was really young, 14.
And it was the Ozzy Osbourne tattoo. It was a smiley face.
Yeah, because if you look at Diary of a Madman on the back cover, his jeans are ripped and there's a smiley face on his knee.
Yeah. There you go. So how many tattoos do you have now?
It's crazy how pop stars and rock stars have so much impact on kids,
Yeah.
Good God, yeah.
See why parents freak out on some of the stuff out there, because I mean, the fact that I would go out and just wear eyeliner and get a tattoo over a live record I heard, that tells you right there,
Well, growing up, we always thought about you as the Ozzy because you loved Ozzy and you love Randy Rhoads.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, who are they still? Is Ozzy still one of your favorites, or?
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the last couple of albums. It's just it's a totally different vibe than what he was doing with Bob Daisley and Max Norton. But yeah, really the first one I really got into was Bark at the Moon. And I've always had this little appreciation for keyboards, just not necessarily like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but just keyboards in the mix,
Yeah.
And Bark at the Moon was the perfect album for keyboards in a hard rock band.
Man. I love that album. That's probably one of my favorite Ozzy albums, man.
Yeah, no doubt. It's great.
Really is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think we should have episodes dedicated, pick a band, and then the three of us just talk about their albums, talk about when we heard them, how it affected us and all. And I would love to do Ozzy because it seems like right when I got into music, Bark at the Moon, I think, was the first one that I heard. But
Yeah.
it's like we've been there all the way with him pretty much. So I think that'd be
Well,
good.
it's like right now you can look at your phone and hear any song an artist has ever done, know anything they've done, know where they're going to be playing tomorrow night, blah, blah, blah. But we had to wait for these magazines to come out. Most of the time they were like 6 to 8 weeks behind.
Yeah.
At least.
I'll give you a good example. Like in 1984, all the magazines had Ozzy Osbourne and Motley Crue on tour together. So I got my dad to buy me tickets for Greensboro Coliseum. And we got there, and there's a big backdrop hanging behind the drums that says accept. Nowadays you would get a notification on your phone, Motley Crue will not be here tonight, blah, blah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So back then you didn't know until you got to the arena who the opening act was, which was kind of cool because you might get there, it might be Dokken or, Fastway. You don't know who it's going to be, half the time.
Well, how about going to see Kiss for Creatures of the Night and Ace Frehley not coming out on stage? That had to freak people out, man.
Right, but it was they probably had his picture on the T-shirts and the posters
on the album, everything, but he did nothing. He even did the "I Love It Loud" video, but there was never a moment, I think, when they thought he was going to be on the tour. But they
see back then you could keep something like that going for several months before it would get out.
Yeah.
Nowadays they don't have a chance. Somebody will snap a picture, record a video.
Yeah. They'll step out of the meeting room and it's already online, which. It's good to know stuff like that, but it also kind of takes some of the mystery away, which
there's no more mystique. Yeah, it's
well,
anything and everything as a tip of your fingers, man.
Well, I know this is going to blow y'all's mind, but we are almost out of time. Unfortunately, Zoom.
We're gonna do 30-minute shows.
Yeah, Zoom limits how much you can do, or you got to start paying cash, and we'll do that later on, maybe. But
okay, so we got to get sponsors on this thing. I got you.
Yeah, but before we go, first of all, man, this is fun, and I have a feeling the next one's going to be the same thing. We will eventually get into really breaking down music, but right now it's just so good catching up. But before we go, you two guys have stuff to tell people about. Walter, tell them about your music store. Excuse me, Walt. Tell them about your music store. Tell them where it's at, all that good stuff. And Jeff, then you tell them about your band.
Okay. Well, how much time do we have?
We got about a minute and a half. So sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's kind of ironic. The three of us used to go to a record store in Garner pretty much 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to open up one about a year ago, and I did. And so far, it's working out really well. I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'm having a blast. It's called Old Records Off the Shelf, and it's conveniently located right off of Interstate 95, exit 87. And
been there. It's cool. It's a cool vibe. It's a cool place.
And Jeff, the store's grown since you were there. I mean, I'm running out of room. I mean, just vinyl out the yin yang.
Definitely have to come by there again really soon. So
yeah, no doubt. And I got another grandbaby that's going to be born any day now. So maybe before we do show number 3, I might have a new granddaughter to tell you about.
Oh, my Lord have mercy. Yeah. Right. We grandpas now.
Yeah. Basketball team and 2 referees.
Yes. Exactly. I've got a band. I mean, it's a Ronnie James Dio tribute band. It's called Voodoo. We do Black Sabbath, Rainbow. We do a lot of Dio stuff as well.